with the family here.
Most definitely, and thank you for accepting my invitation. And I know we're about to have an excellent discussion, and especially on emancipation, a little bit on reparations, and all what else we could think of. Guys, you know it's important. Okay, I just got some information there that we might be back on Facebook, so just give me a moment. So here's what we're going to do, guys. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to take a very short break so I could, get the stream running. And when we come back, we'll start our interview with our guest. Stay tuned to Police Insight.
And kindling our consciousness, St. Lucia celebrates Emancipation 2022 with an engaging, educating, and entertaining series of events from July to August. Commencing on Sunday, July 31st at 4 p.m., the historic unveiling of Emancipation hero, Petroni, Dennery Village. Monday, August 1st to 4 a.m., live drums and dance ritual, Castries Waterfront, and at 5 p.m., a freedom concert at the Old Trafford Complex in Soufrière. Culminating with La Waz Festival Guanfet in Constitution Park and William Peter Boulevard, Tuesday, August 30th at 9 a.m. For full calendar of activities, go to cdfstlucia.org.
Tasty, delicious, local fried chicken available at Massey stores and Mega. Lunch just became more affordable with portion sizes starting as low as $8 per portion. Check it out near the deli at Massey stores. Enjoy Massey stores, our family serving your family.
Having excellent vision isn't just about how well you see. It's how you see your world around you. Our eye doctors are here for you to provide the best personalized care you need when you need it. Because true care is about more than eyeglasses. It's all about you, not just what you see, but how you see it. Best staff, best prices, great vision. Vision Express.
This is the year to be counting solutions reminded. We must not participate.
Hi, I am Ajani Lebon, first Vice President of the St. Lucia National Youth Council, and I'm encouraging youth all across the island, young professionals, students, members of the National Youth Council, artisans, young athletes, youth throughout the length and breadth of this country to participate in the National Population and Housing Census for 2022. This is a very important activity, and we want to ensure that all young people who can contribute are open and willing to do so.
Look at God, they certainly see. God, they certainly see.
Okay, welcome back to Police Insight. I am your host, Inspector Zachary Hippolyte. In studio with me is none other than Ras Dr Wayne Rose. Am I correct?
Yes,
yes.
you are.
Ras Dr Wayne Rose. Okay, so folks, we are live on Choice Television. This is where you tell a friend to tell a friend. We're also streaming live on Facebook. So, is it okay, Ras Doctor? That's fine.
Say Ras Wayne.
Ras Wayne. Okay, Ras Wayne. We've heard about emancipation, the celebration of Emancipation Day in St. Lucia, and I think many other places, especially in the region. For those of us young individuals who probably might just look at it as another holiday, what is Emancipation Day?
So, first let me again just give thanks for the opportunity to share some information. The whole construct of Emancipation Day as given to a people is troubling in its very framing, because in the first instance, our family should not have been incarcerated. We should not have been enslaved. And the act of emancipation is really a legal construction that on paper said that we were freed people.
Yes, yes.
But it lacked the teeth, it lacked the necessary ingredient for people who are free to think and act freely. And so this is why St. Lucia is celebrated today, at least by myself, where the conversations of emancipation is being engaged or re-engaged. And what I praise, it happens not only from the perspective of what is the legal framing. We're in 1838, by law, it was decided by the British that they're going to free or write on the paper that African people who were enslaved is free. And then, immediately after doing that, they established a apprenticeship program for the farmers to get 4 more years of free labor from Africans who were now legally free. So they established an apprenticeship program so that they could have a cushion and sufficient time to bring in indentured people who, by the way, they paid and gave some level of economic interest, some collateral for their labor. They
which our people didn't.
They didn't do that for African people. So it's troubling as from the very get-go, but it's an important conversation because it's 188 years since that time, 1834 through now. And as we reflect on what it means, the very language emancipation, it means you're liberated, you're free, not just in terms of your ability to move around, but your freedom or being a free person to think and to decide on what are the appropriate things for yourself, your family, your community, your nation, state. And so it's a reflective point for St. Lucia. And I love being in St. Lucia because I find St. Lucia to be positioned in the space of leadership, to move perhaps the Caribbean forward. So as leaders then, St. Lucia has an opportunity in the 3 months of emancipation, as we're now engaged, to both have the conversations and take some proaction, take some steps that take us away from what our history has said and taught us, and to engage in the ways that real thinkers, liberated minds can think. If the current structure is good for us, good enough for us, do we deserve more? What are the things we can do to engage our humanity beyond what has been told to us through the mechanisms of either social media or conventional media? So St. Lucia has that opportunity now, and I'm pleased to be working with the Ubuntu Rastafari Cultural Center in collaborating with the Cultural Development Foundation here in St. Lucia to have those conversations with young people across communities in St. Lucia to say, what does it mean? And do you really understand where you're coming from? And by the way, one of the first things we've sought to do in establishing a proper framing for the community is to stop using the term slave as a noun.
I see.
Slave as a noun, meaning, because a noun, they say, in all the classrooms I go, I say, what's a noun? They say it's a naming word. So when you're saying slave, you're naming someone. And when that person is your relative, you're referencing yourself. You're referencing your own history, your own baseline. So you're looking at yourself as a slave. And I generally ask students the question, so you are a scientist and someone with the power of force allows you or forces you now to work on a farm or strip you of your humanity. Does it mean you're no longer a scientist? Or does it mean that you're a scientist that is now enslaved? So if the second is true, you're a scientist enslaved, then use the term enslavement, which is a process, is an action. Someone did something to enslave you, allowing you to be enslaved, but not you naming yourself and you're as a slave. And it's a first, for some people it's like semantics, but it's the first step in regaining And as the Cultural Development Foundation has been using the term, rekindling the consciousness, the awareness on the conversations that should have happened 188 years ago, where free thinkers, free beings could now resume their lives. But in the resumption of life, there are many processes that would have to take place, because you're now stripped of language, you're stripped of culture, you're stripped of an identity, you're stripped of resources. And so the rebuilding that was necessary for African people to engage in just did not take place, could not take place.
Due to slavery.
Due to the enslavement of our people
Enslavement
and
of our people.
the fact that there was no preparation within this notion of justice to allow for our people to heal, to allow for our people to have a direction that could take them, based on their free thinking, toward real emancipation or liberation. So while the conversation is an important one, and we juve and we dance and we celebrate, those are secondary issues to the real thrust, if we are as a people to make a difference in humanity, in fact, in our own lives. Because today our lives are managed by social media, which we're interlinked with, and it serves good purposes on the one hand. But we are fed information about who we are, about what we like, about the foods we like because our friends like them, everything is a managed environment. It's a new level of enslavement. And as the Right Honorable Marcus Garvey said, we have the responsibility to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. Give thanks, my brother.
Excellent, excellent. So, Ras Wayne, that's very interesting, all what you've just stated. In St. Lucia, every year, August 1st, that is the day set aside in the calendar to observe Emancipation Day. Given your experiences in different countries and whatnot, and I'm sure that you have experienced some of the activities we've had here in St. Lucia. Are you satisfied with our observances, our activities, compared to what you've seen out there? And if not, what should we be doing?
Well, I'm kind of neutral.
Okay.
Because I come into St. Lucia now, and working with the Ubuntu Rastafari Cultural Center, we have very specific intent. The first one is enlightenment. It's to ensure, and this is why we brought in a multiplicity of books on issues of history, culture, archaeology, science, math, religion, spirituality, all of these things to engage our people in the process of unpacking, learning, unpacking what has been taught to us and now learning for ourselves, because we have the ability to read. We have the ability to have conversations, to engage experts in the fields of the multiple fields that we all have to survive within this human space. So we intentionally started that process so that we could engage learning.
I see.
For the next and the new. That's how our own framing, to say there is a new. Our youth represent the new and the next. If they can detach themselves from some of the leads that have been given to them, because they're being led by a packaged sets of information and tools. So I'm extraordinarily proud of St. Lucia for the main reason that in coming into St. Lucia, I came in at a time when the government started changing. Before the elections, and I have no affiliation or particular political concern. I'm Rastafari, but I have human concerns. And so I heard government that is now in power talked about engaging the people. And through its own actions in the Cultural Development Foundation, it has empowered a new thrust toward knowledge on history of St. Lucia, but history of African people in St. Lucia, even through the Emancipation months of celebration. It's not a day
not
that
a-
St. Lucia is. And this
I
is
see.
when you say people are seemingly serious, that's a modicum of or a marker then to say someone is serious about this. So I want to salute those responsible for that level of engagement. And they say they're doing this for 3 years. So they're doing it 3 months starting 2022, but then having 3 years of establishing a body of work that will engage young minds. I am so excited about that. I said I am prepared to step into the space and assist if I'm engaged appropriately, because I am who I am.
Yes, yes.
But we certainly think that that's the right direction to go. And it engages now St. Lucia as leaders in a space in the Caribbean, not just the Eastern Caribbean, but among Caribbean leadership to say, if our people who are enlightened, who are educated, would engage in education for its value to themselves and their families and their communities, then we can change the dichotomy within which we currently live, because we have a future. And the future is not necessarily pegged to one narrative. It's pegged to our reality, because we must engage our own reality. We must know more about the Caribbean than we know about the United States of America or Britain.
I so
We
agree.
must know more about our neighbors and that interest. We must know the things that appeal to each other so that we can engage in trade and commerce and have those important conversations. Those are parts of the things that even we ourselves in the Ubuntu Rastafari Cultural Center, through its Justice and Healing Initiative, is engaging right now up in Mount Kailash Mark. So we're engaged in that simply because, in fact, August 2nd through 4th, we're having an economic symposium.
Nice.
We're looking at repairing African legacies through individuals, through business, through even the vehicle of the Maritime Initiative of the Right Honorable Marcus Garvey, who over 100 years ago started a Black Star Liner initiative, a company that would buy ships, put them on the high seas, and engage in trade between African people. It wasn't to negate trade with Europeans. It was simply to say we too can trade. And we have interest. We have things that is consistent with our own livity, our own ethos that we like to utilize. So, you know, I used to like rice and all of them kind of things. But when you learn certain things are not necessarily equitable to your system, then you want to get to your own root and vine, your own base. And I find that joy in St. Lucia, where I can eat makambu. Never heard of it before, right?
Yeah.
But it's healthy, right? And engage with coconut milk as baseline food at the Food of Seven Ital restaurant at the Ubuntu Rastafari Cultural Center. And we're saying these are the components of our reality as African people, things that restores our health. Because when we say justice and healing, we're not only speaking of things perpetrated against us, but things that we perpetrate against ourselves through our socialization. Because we've been socialized to be malicious in our actions against ourselves, against our brothers and sisters, but especially against ourselves.
Excellent. Well, we are going to take another break. Stay tuned to Police Insight.
Your path to your future may not always be clear, but in BOSL Investment Banking, you have a partner that can help determine your way forward. We are right here with you, providing tailored financial advice to pursue your goals and secure your future. At BOSL Investment Banking, our priority is managing your life plan with the highest care. We promise that regardless of your goals, we will find a way. biggest party in sport is back for the 10th year of CPL.
Let's rock and roll, gentlemen. That is magnificent.
CPL will be bigger, better, and louder than ever, with more sixes, more entertainment, and more of the world's best players.
That is simply sensational. Oh, yes.
Get your tickets now at cplt20.com. Join the party. Experience cricket played louder.
Wasco encourages all customers in arrears to make payments at any of our branches in Castries, Vieux-Fort, and Soufrière. Payments can also be made at any approved paying outlets or via online banking. Partial payments made towards an account does not exempt this connection. Please contact our Credit Control Department for information on payment plan options at the following numbers. Call or WhatsApp our agents in Castries, Soufrière, or Vieux-Fort, or call our direct office lines at our 3 branches for more information. Agents are available from 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday to Friday to assist you.
Welcome back to Police Insight. Your host, Inspector Hippolyte here. Let me say good night to Victor C. Anthony, locked in. Diane City, good night to you. DJ Jeff Popo and Angela Hippolyte. I'd like to say good night to you all as we continue the conversation with my guest for tonight, Ras Dr. Wayne Rose, or as she said, Ras Wayne. All right, so let me ask you, can you tell us a little more in terms of the Ubuntu, did I pronounce that properly?
You did perfectly.
Ubuntu Rastafari Cultural Center, is that the actual name?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. First of all, where is it located?
It is on Jeremy Street,
Jeremy
37
Street.
Jeremy Street, right across from the Janu Credit Union.
Okay, excellent. How did this center start? Can you tell us?
So it's one of those unique human stories, but it's a St. Lucian story. Because I, through the years, worked up myself into being ill. Yes, having too much meals, perhaps. You know, even living and eating well, you know, you stress yourself. That's part of the African people's story in the region. So as you made mention, I started a School of Sacrament Rastafari University along with colleagues from John Hopkins University of the West Indies, etc.
1 second, Doug, before you continue, I think we have a call on the line. Okay. And just to let you know that if you want to call right now, you can. If you want, my number is on the screen. Thanks to the amazing technocrats in the back, you'll be able to call my phone, and then we'll be able to hear you. Continue.
Beautiful. Yeah, man. So we were doing a series of webinars, and the Right Honorable Priest Kailash, who is a product of St. Lucia, was on one of our seminars dealing with health and, you know, herbs as a component of our healing process. And after listening to the brother make his presentation, I said, you know, I'd love to speak to you, and I'd love to come in for some rejuvenation. And he said, come. When can you come? I said, I have several excuses I made. And he said, when you're serious about your own health and well-being, you can call me. Well, that night I booked my ticket to St. Lucia to come in to engage healing. Because you put on all these stresses, you're fighting you're on a treadmill going nowhere fast.
Yeah.
But anyway, coming into St. Lucia, I was part of a retreat after I did my 21 days with the Honorable Priest Kailash at the Rejuvenation Center. He asked me to stay on for a retreat, what's called the Rising of the Gods Retreat, where young brothers from across North America and the Caribbean came into St. Lucia to learn from elders. And I realized then that I'm an elder because they were so much younger than I. And the Right Honorable keeps positioning me in that space to say, you know, talk to the brothers, give them some words. After we finished that retreat, it was an excellent retreat, we decided to write a book. The night we're deciding to write that book, it dawned on us that it was exactly 13 months away from the 130 years anniversary of the life of Haile Selassie I. So it's 13 months away from the 13th decade in the life of the man. And we said, but 130, that's an important number. Let's do something big in St. Lucia. And in order for us to do that thing big, let us establish a secretariat. So all of these things were words being spoken. And then you had actors, people like Honorable Priest Kailash, Empress Ethiopia's Honorable Queen, among others, immediately assumed their positions as leaders and say, we can do this, we can do that. And who's going to run the secretariat? You? That's what Priest Kailash asked me. And for a minute I thought, just for a minute second, and I said, yes, I'll do it. So I've taken off the last 13 months of my own life to come into St. Lucia, to do specifically what we're currently engaged in, because right now, even on the mountain of Mount Kailash, at that center, Rejuvenation Center, we're engaged in 28 days of spiritual rituals, economic conversations and symposiums, historical narratives. We have students from Johns Hopkins University there right now, being immersed in an African-centered spiritual engagement as learners, but they're immersed in the process. So the Ubuntu Rastafari Cultural Center is used as the umbrella for an initiative that we started, is what I'm saying. The initiative was really, it's called Justice and Healing.
Justice and Healing.
Or Judgment and the Heaping of Fire Coals. So it's Jaja Ni, right? Naya Bingi initiative. So we call on the family to engage in a spiritual ritual. We're not asking them to become Rastafari. We're saying, if what we represent is good and you are good, join us in the good that we represent. That's a common thing we have. Let us work on our common interest. And that is to look at our own spirituality as a means through which we call for justice. And our call for justice is not to march and to protest and thing. It is to engage in the dialogues that are critical, because we have brilliant people.
Oops, 1 second. Let me see if...
Yes.
Good day. Are you... Hello?
Good evening, Inspector. How are you?
I'm fine. Are you calling the Police Inside Show?
Yes, I'm calling the Police Inside Show.
Okay, 1 second. Let me see if I can. All right, go ahead.
You know, I've now realized why the police is slow. Because you're not tardy, very, very tardy when people give you information. Because this afternoon, I nearly hit a lady by Port Authority there. And I mentioned that to you, I call it traffic department, and none of you all, it has almost 4 months now, the police study on that. That is not a bus stop. Many buses are stopping there. On mornings, Tuesday morning, a lady nearly hit a girl coming out from behind a van. You can't tell me the police cannot find all the resources, one police officer in the morning, or two in the morning, or two SPCs to stop minibus drivers from just stopping and making people listen back there. This afternoon, nearly hit the young lady. You know, and I say if I hit anybody there, I'm putting it on the police. Yes, I am putting that charge on you all. You can't charge me because you're tardy, very tardy. You know, people give you information and you're not doing nothing about it. It's like, okay, we'll look into it. You said that on your program. We'll look into it. Thank you. Very good. But you're doing nothing about it.
When was that call? What area you talk about and how long ago you called?
From by the Port Police to the old SLBG and the Port Authority headquarters there. There are many buses and mornings and afternoons that stop in there to drop off people at peak hours. I told you that. You say, oh yeah, that's a good thing. We'll look into it.
Yes, but caller, when information is passed on...
I apologize there, but...
Hold on, caller. I understand your passion and I can understand you're upset. What you should be asking is, was the information passed on? Remember, there's a traffic department,
because
caller.
I gave you the information. Did you pass it on?
Yes, caller.
I called traffic on...
And what happened when you called traffic?
When you pass it on, did you follow up? That is what the tardiness is. You follow up and say, I gave you information. Was anything done about it?
Well, caller, I cannot follow up all the thousands of information people give me. However, there are, listen, caller, listen, I know you're upset. Caller, I know you're upset. Can you listen to me?
I am listening.
Okay, caller. If there's a department and they're responsible for doing what they're supposed to do, don't you agree? Have you gone to the department yourself? Have you gone to the department yourself and spoken to the officer in charge of traffic?
Wow. Police inside supposed to educate, help, and do things. And you want me, who gave you information? That is why we lack it. That's why the police are looking like clowns.
Caller, don't be like that, caller.
No, I have to.
No.
Because I gave you information. You know what's going to happen? A driver, maybe me, or a driver will hit somebody and they'll die. And you see like Shachi song, nothing is your business until it becomes crisis. That is what the police force is now. Nothing is your business until it becomes a crisis. Until it becomes a crisis. That is a busy thoroughfare there. Busy at mornings between 6:30 and 8 after 8.
Yes,
and busy in afternoon thing. I gave you information, and when I'm upset there, because Tuesday the lady stayed in the road for almost a minute because she panicked. She nearly hit somebody. And this afternoon I come from work. And then you're not going to come up from the minute, but I nearly, if something was coming up there, I would have hit the young lady. Because I won't be able to sweep. And I'm saying it because I know the police, they say, oh, good show. But people's life are in danger. Somebody can get killed.
Caller, I don't want it to sound as if like I want to cut you off. Caller, you would understand that the police cannot be everywhere at the same time, no matter how much you would like to be.
You see that? You see now? Now you're behaving like how you always behave. Well, the police can't be everywhere at one time.
But that's the truth,
that's
caller.
A safety risk. That's a safety risk. You can't tell me now and then you can't see the police there. That is a safety risk. You can cut me off if I right. It's a safety risk. But you tell me, that is nothing, eh? Your Highness, good show. I listen to you. I plan to visit your place because I talk to Prince Kailash regular. I'm diabetic and there's a lot of good tips he gave me about healthy living. I plan to visit you. But this safety thing this man doing there, the police force is tardy. And unless you tell me, oh, you was on the stern, you allow police riding, 4 or 5 police riding the vehicle at night. The traffic department had slipped. 4 men on duty. People's safety. Just remember that, eh? That's the first time I'm calling you. I will watch on you. I know it will not happen. And I know that for sure. Because you don't care about people's safety. Good evening.
Goodbye, caller. Folks, you know, he has every right to be upset if he believes that there is a deficiency in traffic enforcement. But no matter what he says, that is the reality. And sometimes, and I don't blame him, I do not blame him. He's a citizen and he's expecting some form of service or presence of the police. But the reality and the fact of it is that the police is under-resourced. And no matter how much he doesn't like to hear me say that, no matter how much he doesn't like to hear we say that we cannot be everywhere at the same time, that is just the fact. We as citizens also have to take responsibility for our actions, okay? Especially when it comes on the roadways. And I am not going to make any excuse for stating the fact that the traffic department, criminal investigations department, the stations are totally under-resourced and undermanned. That is a fact. But caller, I will say it again, whether you want to do it or not, you are free to visit the traffic department and you could also share your grievance at the traffic department. Yes, so let's take a break right now, and when we come back we will continue the discussion with our guest, Ras Dr Wayne Rose. Let's take a break.
COVID-19 continue to evolve, Lewis Industries Limited remains resolute in offering the best cleaning solutions recommended by EPA to reduce the spread of the virus. Our disinfectants, EnviroCare and Conquer Byram, which are highly recommended to sanitize, disinfect, and deep clean surroundings, will ensure you operate in a safe and healthy environment. With over 3 decades of experience in cleaning and consultancy services, we guarantee you trusted products and quality service. Call us at 450-4060. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or our website at www.lewisindustrieslimited.com.
Prepare for the hurricane season by ensuring trees and other objects on your property won't get tangled in overhead wires. Be careful. Ensure ladders and tools don't come within 10 feet of power lines. If a tree is near electrical lines, don't try to trim it yourself. Contact Lucelec at 452-2165 or 454-6617. Be smart. Stay safe.
Need help with books, uniforms, and supplies for back to school? Then get on the school bus with the Monrepo Eastern Cooperative Credit Union Back to School Loan. We've made it easy to get up to $5,000 with only 20% deposit, a low interest rate of only 5.5%, and up to 12 months to repay. No more back to school blues. Call Monrepo Eastern Cooperative Credit Union today and get on the school bus. The Monrepo Eastern Cooperative Credit Union. You dream it, we make it real.
Welcome back to Police Insight. Your host there, Acting Inspector Zachary Hippolyte. I'd like to say good night to Cherry Blossom. Cherry Blossom, thank you for tuning in and giving your opinions on the caller before. I'm happy that the caller called. This is why this show was created, to give an avenue to individuals, whether they call in with happy, with in terms of praises for the police, or whether it is criticism for the police. This is why the show was created, and I'm sure that my heads of department and the hierarchy who are listening heard his cries, heard his pleas, and all I could say is that we will do the best we can with what we have. So back to my guest, Ras Doctor. So you got a little chance to see a little bit of what I get sometimes, Doc, on the show.
Yes.
And it's good.
It's good. I mean, the venting and the conversation. As a citizen, I respect his call, and I respect even your response to it. Mm-hmm. And at some point, where you find solution is the next.
Yes.
So there cannot only be the complaint, and the process has to materialize into something meaningful for the citizens. So I pray those things are worked out amicably.
I hope so
and
too.
No one gets in an accident based on what
Yes.
the brother was saying.
Yes.
But to re-engage the conversation,
Right.
We started the Ubuntu Rastafari Cultural Center intentionally, is the point I was getting to. I was going to tell you the story,
Yes.
but it's intentional, where we saw a need based on us coming together as man, a group of man from across different regions, countries and spaces, and to have conversations with young people. And quite a few young St. Lucian brothers were there also, and young leaders were there, and we engaged them. We had conversations about how a narrative shift can take place. So someone tell you are these things, but not telling you what your full capacity is.
I see.
In that space, we thought about the full capacity of a man, and a man of African ascendancy. How you rise yourself, how you ascend to your true position of power or your full potential. And so we wrote a book coming out of the retreat, and out of the book we recognized, or out of the retreat we also recognized that Haile Selassie's 130th birth anniversary was taking place 13 months from the date we were sitting there. Also, the Right Honorable Marcus Garvey celebrates 135 years. 13 is an important number in the African consciousness. That's why we've been taught to dislike or feel uncomfortable about 13, Friday the 13th, 13 steps, take out the 13th floor. These are the things that we have been socialized with. Having fear of a number that represents a wholesomeness. Ethiopia, for instance, has 13 months of sunshine. Now, who's going to tell a child that?
I didn't know that.
Yes, it has 13 months. So Ethiopia, which helps to frame our African reality as the throne room for Africa, has 13 months. So we decided that this is an important year. And because of where we were and where we are today in St. Lucia, and the beautiful things that we're seeing, the potential of St. Lucia, the healing virtues coming from Honorable Priest Kailash and the Mount Kailash Rejuvenation Center where I was at, we decided that we're going to call family, friends, people who are righteous in their spirit to come into St. Lucia to have some spiritual rituals, some conversations on how we move next, where we go next, how we get there, what transparent processes we can establish so that our people can be empowered in the next and the new. We have had over 188 years of what is called emancipation. So we're having the conversation now. Are we truly emancipated? Those are the things we're doing at the Ubuntu Rastafari Cultural Center. What does emancipation, or do emancipation people, what do you do if you're truly emancipated? Who plans your life for you if you're free, as a free thinker? What is it that is real to your physical and material world?
Some would say, yes, we are free.
Yeah, but you're free to do what? And if you're free, for instance, are you free to use technology in the ways you want to use it, or are you just consuming it for the feeds? Are you using it for your own economic empowerment? Are you overusing it, destroying your eyes on this small phone? I mean, all of these are critical. You start at a baseline, you know, my brother. The baseline is that if we're free thinkers, let us just unpack or release from ourselves some of the things that have been added to us and just look at them critically and ask ourselves some serious questions, right? Perhaps the COVID lockdown provided that opportunity for us to at least take some time off and then look and say, am I acting in my own best interest, in the interest of my family? These are critical things you ask. And so that is what we're doing at the Ubuntu Rastafari Cultural Center, where I counseled young people, over 5,000 people who are incarcerated, man and woman, about lifestyle changes, about small increments that you can, decisions you can make that change your life in small increments, but have big results.
Oh, yeah?
It literally just starts from the thought.
Can you share some with us?
Yeah, that's what we're doing now. It really starts from the thinking. You have to reposition your thoughts to the positive. So how do you then sit down and talk to someone who's doing 25 years to life about hope? Yet you have to, so that that person can find value in the life he has.
Despite his incarceration.
Despite his incarceration. And we're not talking about those who are now prisoners of economic or political warfare. We're talking about people who acknowledge that they've committed some crime, but now have the realization that, oh boy, the next 25 years I'm going, this is my life. Yes? But having those conversations is not about having sympathy or even empathy for them. It's to say, here's what you can do. 25 years you have, what type of programs do you have inside the prison? That adds value to yourself now. So you're not sitting down saying, woe is me. Yes? You can still add some value. How can you impact someone before they get here by you being here? How can I facilitate you doing that? Because this is your new reality. And for those who are doing 6 months to 3 years or 5 years, it's a different conversation at different increments of consciousness to say, okay, you're here for 7 years. You can finish an undergraduate because your facility provides education. You can do your AA or you can do your GED, which is equivalent to someone finishing high school here, right? And at least prepare yourself that as you exit prison. You can learn a craft, a trade, a skill that you can take to your community now and add value to your community, becoming a noble citizen, a stand-up person. That is what Rastafari represents, you know. That language to the people, speaking to and for the conscience of the people. To say, Gasa, I error, man, I make some error. How do I correct those errors? And we have not made some errors, and I'm a victim of something, then how do you change a narrative of victimhood and stand as a victor? You change your own narrative by buying into your own possibilities, by framing your possibilities, framing what victory looks like, and not having someone else frame it for you.
So you're saying an incarcerated individual could still free themselves?
Of course, because the incarceration is a mental state. In fact, you have many people walking around right now incarcerated.
Yet they consider themselves free because they're not inside of an institution. That's
Yeah,
what you're saying.
yeah, because literally we lock ourselves, we imprison ourselves daily by putting ourselves in some boxes. I mean, structure is good enough. So a box sometimes a structure is good. But I'm saying we lock into habits that are not good for us, that allows us now to be feeding our bodies the wrong things, feeding our minds the wrong things. So our thoughts become corrupt, and that corruption multiplies into just a level of being jailed, being imprisoned. You can't break a cycle because you don't know what is the next. You're fearful of what comes, what other possibilities are there. Well, the Right Honorable Marcus Garvey said, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery, because none but ourselves can free our minds. Now, Bob Marley turned that into a song, and everybody is a Marley song, but the Right Honorable Marcus Garvey said it.
I see.
And so when we start thinking about how we emancipate ourselves, how we free ourselves from the chains and the shackles of the mind, it applies to all groups, including those who are in physical bondage because of some action of theirs or some injustice perpetrated against them. So we do these type of things. And so the Ubuntu Rastafari Cultural Center also has a counseling ethos and construct, because I myself is part of what I do.
Okay.
So we are offering those services to say, it might be domestic, it might be very personal, it might be psychological. Only you know.
Someone can walk into the
Someone can come in, make an
center.
appointment with us, and we'll unpack some of this. And we want to present these as alternatives to the powers that be, to say, let us help. And let us frame the mechanism through which we can help St. Lucians, who produce the only nation in the region to produce two Nobel Peace Prize winner or prize winners, right? It means that the potential of St. Lucia, something in the water or the air or the food, makes for the genius, but it also can make for the madness. So we have to walk away, step away from the brink of madness in our actions. And I'm here to help. And I'm not saying I'm here as salvation. I'm saying I have some skills. Where I don't have the skills, I don't engage. But I have some skills that may be of value, and I'm prepared to engage those skills as Rastafari, because that's what our Rastafari life is. It's to serve our people, standing to and for the conscience of our race, our people, our nations.
The Rastafari Cultural Center also has, I understand, a bookstore, a book section. Could you tell us about what type of books are available, etc.?
Yes, of course. So we have two segments of books. We have a bookstore where we sell African-centered literature. It's on spirituality, on history, on agriculture, on science and math, and spoken word, creativity, the African genius, if you will. We also have a special collections unit, and I call it that because that's a theme that they use in some libraries in America where I've lived for too long. But that is books coming from my own library, and some that I've purchased that I think I can't get a lot of these, but I want them to be there so my St. Lucian family can come in, join our book club, which we have every other Thursday. and read with us as we unpack, or we explain, or we work together, converse on things that can help to liberate the mind. So you may not want to buy a book, but you may want to join and have access to some of the books in the special collection.
For the club.
But then there are the books, and we need people to engage the books. Books on Garvey, books on other African and Caribbean heroes and heroines that we want our family to be aware of. Because when we start seeing greatness in ourselves, that's when we change the dichotomy. We realize that, yeah, Brother Zachary did it. And he came from the same community that I come from. I know the man. Yes, and if he did it, I can do it.
Yes.
So yes, we can. I am because you are. That's Ubuntu. That's the meaning of Ubuntu. Therefore, you are because I am. So we're interlinked in that intimate way. And that is what we seek to offer. Clarity on who we are collectively, so we can move this nation state into a position of leadership. Remember, it's already in that position. You know? We're just poking the bear, so to speak, by presenting our own narrative and work as part of the next and the new, as part of our adding value to what is a valuable space and valuable people.
Excellent. We're going to take another break. When you come back, I'm going to ask about, we've heard this term, reparations. What does that mean? Why is it important? Stay tuned to Police Insight.
Enkindling our consciousness, St. Lucia celebrates Emancipation 2022 with an engaging, educating, and entertaining series of events from July to August. Commencing on Sunday, July 31st at 4 p.m., the historic unveiling of Emancipation hero, Petroni, Dennery Village. Monday, August 1st to 4 a.m., live drums and dance ritual, Castries Waterfront, and at 5 p.m., a freedom concert at the Old Trafford Complex in Soufrière. Culminating with La Waz Festival Guafette in Constitution Park and William Peter Boulevard, Tuesday, August 30th at 9 a.m. For full calendar of activities, go to cdfstlucia.org.
Tasty. Delicious. Local fried chicken. Available at Massey stores and Mega. Lunch just became more affordable with portion sizes starting as low as $8 per portion. Check it out near the deli at Massey stores. Enjoy. Massey stores. Our family serving your family.
Having excellent vision isn't just about how well you see. It's how you see your world around you. Our eye doctors are here for you to provide the best personalized care you need when you need it. Because true care is about more than eyeglasses. It's all about you, not just what you see, but how you see it. Best staff, best prices, great vision. Vision Express.
This is the year to be counting solutions reminded. We must not participate.
Hi, I am Ajani Lobon, first Vice President of the St. Lucia National Youth Council, and I'm encouraging youth all across the island, young professionals, students, members of the National Youth Council, artisans, young athletes, youth throughout the length and breadth of this country to participate in the National Population and Housing Census for 2022. This is a very important activity, and we want to ensure that all young people who can contribute are open and willing to do so.
Look at Cortes and Lissy, Cortes and Lissy.
Welcome back to Police Insight. Thank you for staying locked in to Choice TV. On the show, I'd like to say good night to Anu Leos, who has stated blessed love in the chat. Blessed love right back to you, my brother. As we continue the conversation with Ras Dr. Wayne Rose. Ras Wayne, we've heard the term reparations, and most times when we hear that term, it would be most probably coming from the Rastafarian community. And I'm sure most of my viewers or the young people of today would not even bother research on what it means, because sometimes we think it's just noise that is being made. I've heard some young person say reparations are just noise. What really is reparations, and why is it so important to us as a nation and a people?
Give thanks again, my brother. The first thing is to look at the very word. The base is repair, right? So it means something has been broken. It means that something needs fixing. And in the context of African people, our legacy is like you're living 1,000 years or more, 500, whatever, 500 million years, it really don't matter. Our line, our trajectory toward what our possibilities was broken through deliberate actions of people seeking their own economic well-being. And they used our bodies and our strength for their own economic well-being. That breaking of our path toward our own success is in need of repairing.
I see.
Because at every level of the African reality, you're going to find that comparatively we're less in resources.
Yes.
I mean, the economic measurements of today, we have less. And in that context, there is the need for repairing what was broken. And so the Rastafari community, that's one of the beautiful things even coming through the Ubuntu Center, because we're bringing clarity in the minds of people. What we have always represented is a narrative to support our people. So we've always been calling for justice, for healing, for reparatory justice. So we want the repairing of our family. It's not about us as Rastafari per se. It's about our people, because that has what been imprinted upon our consciousness to act in the interest of our people. Because in acting in the interest of our people, Ubuntu, they are because I am, and I am because they are. So it becomes reciprocal. We gain the benefit when we look for our people, and that is what the Rastafari community has been doing historically. So it's the call for that justice and healing, the repairing of the breach in the human family, where the givers in human family were further demonized, ostracized, murdered, simply because first it was our color, or space where we came from. And that was used for the economic benefit of others. And some people say, well, histories are, I mean, slavery was a long time ago, just forget about that.
Yeah, some have even said, I mean, if you're looking at, first of all, who's responsible? Who are we asking for that repairing?
So the thing is this, and this is the important distinction, even for Ubuntu and the Justice and Healing Initiative right here in St. Lucia. What we're saying is that there is a beam in our government's eyes, the regional governments, post-colonialism. So after we say, or they say, you're now free, independent, our government still did some things, atrocious things against groups within their own Caribbean family, and Rastafari in particular. But again, Rastafari don't stand as victims, because we are still here, victorious. So we're using that example of victimization to say, let us have the conversations that allow for justice. Let's have the acknowledgements that allows for us to unsweep the mess from the family's rug, and then to say, now that we're clear, let us act in our interest. Let us repair our own breach. Incidentally, for as long as the Rastafari called for these restorative justice, it was only recently where our scholars in the universities and some Rastafari are involved in that. They established reparation commissions across the Caribbean.
I see.
But very few of Rastafari people who have historically been calling for this are involved. But it's still our call. It was the wake up, the clarion call to the family. And Rastafari is pleased that others are now involved. What we're equally concerned though about is that some of the call is being watered down. It's being diluted. It's being compromised in ways that we should not compromise. Because we see at the bottom of the economic and social ladder, we see people who have the mental capacity to do more, but are being derailed by the structures in our own systems. So for us in this context, we have a two-tiered approach. We're gonna get to Europe, but before we get the mote from their eyes, we're gonna take the beam. It's a big dam, it's a very large mote in their eyes, you know. Their atrocities is serious, but we have some cleaning up to do in the Caribbean spaces.
I see.
In the post-colonial government spaces, some cleaning up in the family. And that is part of what the Jaja and I initiative at the Ubuntu Rastafari culture is about. What we're doing in Mount Kailash right now, where we're saying to each other and those who are of like-mindedness, to say, listen, let us at least say it's wrong. Then let us look at what has Rastafari really done for the region. I'll tell you one, we made the region a cultural superpower. People come to the regions here because we are here. People engage in our livity because we are here. People talk like us in the multiple platforms of Europe and America because we created language and spirituality and culture that people really see their identities in. We gave the region dreadlocks. Now it's a fashion statement. People are locticians making money, building their own economic bases because we are here and we gave that. We gave the world ecological consciousness to say treat the earth well. Treat your goodie, your system well also. We gave that. So people are now vegan. I mean, other people speak on this, so I'm not going to go far. I'm saying this is what reparations mean in the largest context, because we first need to repair ourselves. So while we look at the individual, we also look at individual states in our region and say, listen, as my brother Dennis Brown, a musician coming out of Jamaica, said in a song, he said, I won't come down on you with lightning, brimstone, or fire. Not yet. Because in our hearts as Rastafari, that's not what we desire. Our desire is for our own family to be true to ourselves, to be faithful and strong and committed to the processes that we can create as a people with the involvement, full involvement and leadership of Rastafari in the spaces that we're prepared to lead so that the family can be whole. Look at the great work of your own product, Right Honorable Priest Kailash, and others in the spaces here that have been bringing a light to St. Lucia. That light shone in my direction. And I came. Right now we have that light shone in the direction of John Hopkins students and professors, and they came. They're here right now. That light is shining across the Caribbean. We had people from multiple media spaces, Jamaica, Guadeloupe, Antigua, Bahamas. They all came. They're now here because of St. Lucia. So we're saying the catalyst for change can and is St. Lucia. Can be and really is in the moment St. Lucia. But we must act, and we must act collaboratively. And we'll have those conversations because we don't want to be tooting a horn to the air. We want to say to our people, our family, what we've done with zero resources is a lot. Can you imagine if we had the basic ingredients to do more? We would give the world a science that they've never seen before. we'd give them culture and cultural narratives that would lift our people, yes, and make us recreate the pyramids and the Sphinx and the great civilizations of our past. We can still do it, but first we need justice, we need healing, we need reparations.
What do you foresee, or what are you seeing currently are the challenges, or the greatest challenge to we ever receiving that type of healing, or what we call reparations?
The truth is, my brother, it's so simple in my mind. It's mindset. It's how we think of our current world. We think of our world in reality as if it's all already set. Very few innovators are among us because we have been given the impression as if it's all set. So you come in and you're using the technology, but we're not building the camera. It's a mindset. We jump on the social media, but someone else thought about the possibility. And they may have the resources, yes, and they got it done, but we didn't even start thinking about the possibilities because we've all now become consumers of things sometimes that are antithetical to our own human existence. And then we become almost lambs to the slaughter because we act against our own interests when it doesn't even seem to make sense. For instance, if you're diabetic, don't drink sugar, don't drink a soda. I'm not hitting the soda company.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's antithetical to your own physical reality. So it's that and then some. So if we want to, like, I'm not necessarily the best example, but in this context, I picked up myself for 13 months and came to St. Lucia because it is an important space in time. It is the now and the new for I. So I and I is here now to engage in the ways that we can engage and make the changes that must be made.
I have a comment, and I think also a question for you, Ras Wayne. And the individual says, I'm listening to the Thursday 20th 2000 show with Ras Dr Wayne Rose. I think reparation should not be that difficult. Why can the African leaders just accept those in the West that want to reparate? If they would do, it would be so much of a reality. Too many years of dreaming of reparation when the reality should be much more easy. Two, in the first place, why then did the African tribal leaders sold out our African descendants? I'll stop there. There's another question, but would you like to comment on that? I've heard this before. In history, what you've learned, Ras Wayne, were our own Africans instrumental in the enslavement of African people? And should we blame them?
Yeah, first and foremost, the person, whether male or man or woman who wrote that, used an interesting term. And some people may believe it to be an error because the person say, speaking of reparations, he speaks of African bodies going back to Africa. And many times people say that's repatriation.
I see.
But it is also the first increment of reparation. Yes? Because we need, in repairing, that's the breach that was bridged. That's the gap that was created. We were taken away from something that's important to our humanity, an identity and a physical space which we were forcibly removed from. Yes? So it's an interesting way of framing it. At first I hear it, I say, well, he really means repatriation. But in reality, it's also reparation.
I see.
Because it's the repairing of a breach in space, not necessarily in economics there. The other thing, though, that I would comment on is this notion of African leaders being complicit in our demise, or if you will, for lack of a better term. I don't engage that conversation. That's a family conversation. I'm serious.
Yeah.
And it's a distraction to reality.
I see.
I put the full blame of our 400 plus years of being lost in a wilderness, being ill-treated, being stripped of our humanity. I put that full blame at the doorstep of Europe. And that judgment will come. Theirs will come. If they refuse to do the right things and the window perhaps is closing. Because earth is a balancing, it's a polar balance. So where things happen on the one side, it's balance on the other. So where the injustices have taken place against our people for over 400 years, there is a justice that's coming. And that justice includes retribution against those who acted against our humanity. So I don't engage African space because as a family, we are going to have to deal with them and they us. But to start that narrative kind of takes Europe off the hook. They're not getting off the hook. And I'm not having that conversation either. This conversation on reparation is about St. Lucia, about Eastern Caribbean, about the Caribbean proper, and our post-colonial governments who have in the past maltreated our people, or in the present, even in the context of Jamaica, dreadlocks, which is now sported by people in government, they're still denying students the right to attend school. Right? And some agents of the state are still cutting people's locks without their permission. Yes. Those are atrocities that scars the psychosis of people. It damages the mind. It diminishes their humanity. That must not only stop, it must be repaired through some act. And that can be always debated. And, you know, even at the Ubuntu Rastafari Cultural Center, we're presenting 7 points to our family here in St. Lucia to say, consider these things as righteous actions that will provide the redemption even for yourself and the government and the family.
I have another question here, Ras Wayne, and I don't know if you want to engage it. It's but I guess you know what it's about. And this viewer says, you are very much educated, which I admire. Why are you a Rastafarian and not at least, and I'm going to try to pronounce, okay, a Coptic Christian or the Ethiopian Christian Church Haile Selassie belonged to? And the person went on to say, Tawahido Ethiopian Christian Church. Care to respond to that?
Yes, it's a beautiful question. And the response will not talk about why. The response will just talk about what sovereignty really means. And sovereignty for I is a realization of when we are, where we are, when we are there, and why. Right? Today, the mission, we have been entrusted a mission. Yes? And the framing, the spiritual framing of that mission comes through the man, Haile Selassie I, and the movement of Rastafari. It's not by accident that this movement occurred in our region and provides leadership, cultural leadership for our people. Yes?
2 minutes left on the show. Okay.
As sovereign beings, we have made the conscious decision to embrace the man, Rastafari's pre-coronation titles. I have many brothers and sisters who are Ethiopian Orthodox Church members. I go to the church, I feast with them, I speak my Amharic on occasion. By the way, writer Tenestelin, give thanks. I lived in Ethiopia. I embraced the fulsome nature of the culture, but also as a sovereign being who know that I am the Son of God.
Okay.
I've recognized that I have a mission to accomplish, and the framing that comes in my consciousness now, I'm acting on. And as Haile Selassie did when he came to Jamaica, him being the head of the Tawahido Ethiopian Orthodox Church, when he met the Rastafari brothers at King's House, Jamaica, the King's House, he gave them medals, golden tokens, perhaps to say, well done, my good and faithful servant. Yes, he sent the church to Jamaica and Trinidad so that people could join if they need to. But in the Ethiopian customs and traditions, there's also the Batawi priests. You look them up, Batawi. They are sporting dreadlocks. They don't go through the formal training of the church, but they're more revered than the priests who do so because they are called in the likeness of John the Baptist, the man who was in the wilderness, paving the way for Christ to come from the biblical narrative. So the Rastaman have an important role to play, and we unapologetically play that role in the interest of our current humanity, our people in the region.
Right, so we have like a minute left, and trust me, I think we'll eventually do a part 2. But can you tell us what's happening on August 1st, Emancipation Day?
So Emancipation Day, we're having a symbolic black over white march where the Ethiopia Black International Congress members of the Rastafari family are going to lead that march. They've been at vanguards and at the forefront of emancipation celebrations or acknowledgements for decades, while even our government stopped looking at the date as an important date. So they lead here in St. Lucia. We will start from the city center in March, and we're taking this as a symbol of our resonance in the space, and bringing the consciousness to the family right here that it's an important conversation to have, but also symbolical to say we have survived over the atrocities of white supremacy, black over white. We're also having currently, August the 2nd, we're having an economic symposium, 2nd through 4th, where we'll sit at the Cultural Center and also at the Mount Kalish Rejuvenation Center, and we're talking with some of our own experts on maritime issues, how to engage the economics. And we're having a poetry slam on August the 18th right at the Cultural Center. Its whole theming and focus for young people, emancipation. We have a few events, but we're encouraging the family to come to Mount Kalish even tomorrow on the Sabbath. Join us as we have both the spiritual rituals, but also the conversations that takes us to the next and the new. This is also a next and the new.
Yes.
Sitting here to my brother Zachary,
Thank you for being
and
here
I
tonight.
give thanks for the opportunity to share. St. Lucia, we love you. You are the next and the new in the family. Blessed love. Give thanks.
Thank you so much, Ras Dr. Wayne Rose, for being my guest tonight. So we have come to the end of another show. Next Thursday, we're hoping to hear from you, see from you again. You know, we're always live on Choice Television. As usual, stay safe. Please have a great weekend. Blessed love. Good night.